All right, so you should have downloaded OnShape, and you can see it right here on my screen. I'm going to go ahead and open OnShape. I have already created an account. You do a free subscription. You can create and edit public data only. So all your stuff will be accessed by the public, but you shouldn't be able to find each other's stuff. In order to do a new part, right here, bottom right-hand corner, hit the plus sign. And I'm going to call this one a drill block, because that's what I'm going to make for 7.2, part number 4. So we're going to click OK. And you always want to give it a minute. I know this looks like it's not working, but if you just hang out a second, it will show up. It takes a little while. This is a big program. So in here, we have this right here on the left-hand side. You can see as your browser window, just the same as we had before. View cube on the right-hand side, just the same. The difference is here, we have buttons. Instead of showing the whole ribbon across the top of the screen, we have buttons. The first one right here, the pencil, it's a drawing. So we're going to draw with that one. And then the other one that looks like a beach ball is when we make 3D elements. So it's the same as our 3D tab. So sketch tab and then our 3D tab. We want to do an extrusion here to make our cell block or a drill block. So we're going to draw. So the first thing we have to do, just like we do in Inventor, is pick a sketch plane. And I can pick any of these, right, front, or top. I'm going to go ahead and click on the top. And I'm just pressing it with my finger. And I'm going to start by drawing a rectangle in this one. So you can see at the very top, I've got my rectangle tool going on. The button next to the rectangle tool, the one to the left that's not highlighted, is where we can pick multiple things and put geometric constraints on objects. So to draw my rectangle, I'm going to draw the beginning point and the end point. So the two circles, just like you see on the screen, those are the two places I'm going to touch. It's not a touch and drag. It's a touch and then a touch in order to get your rectangle. So I always start my things on the origin. I want to put my first touch right there on the origin, and then I'm going to go out and hit again to create my rectangle. Some of you might like drawing in this isometric view. I don't care for it because you can't tell if things are lined up. So I'm going to click over here on the top and look at it from the top. Now there's dimensions on this block that we have. So we want let's see, if I'm looking at it from the top like I am here, I want it to be 2 inches tall and I want it to be 5 inches wide. So again, just like in the sketch tool, I'm going to click on that pencil. And down here towards the bottom on the right hand side, you can see where it says dimension. Click on that. And then I'm going to click on the lines that I want dimensioned. And it says it's 1.697. I don't want that. I want it to be 5. So I'm just going to click on the number and change it to 5. Same thing. I want this one to be 2. So I click on the dimension to change it to 2. Check mark. Good job. There it is. When I want to finish the sketch, on the bottom right hand corner where it says sketch 1 and there's a check mark, if I check mark it, that means I'm finished. If I click the X, that means cancel, and everything I've done is going to go away. So don't click on the X. Click on the check mark. And there I have my sketch. Now this, remember, is a flat thing. It's a flat sketch. It has no volume. It has no a mass or anything like that. So in order to get my 3D object, I'm going to have to extrude it. This is where I hit the beach ball looking thing right here. And you can see I have extrude. I'm going to click on extrude. So looking at this, I want this rectangle to extrude 3 inches tall. So 3 inches from top to bottom. Now this does not automatically select your loop like Inventor does. So all I have to do is click right here and select my rectangle. This is going to be blind. It's going to go a direction and the depth that I want it to go. I'm going to edit that and make it 3. Check mark. Then I click the check mark again by extrusion 1, and there I have my piece. So I can view it. Let's view an isometric view. There you can see your part. Excuse me. There's no pause on this one. So in order to put my holes in, I know it's very tempting to draw a whole bunch of circles and try to extrude them. But the problem is that it won't work out right when you go to your drawing, first of all. And the second part that's not going to work out is that In order to do a countersink or a thread, you're not going to be able to do that with an extrusion. So don't even try. Can't happen. So what we need to do is, just like in the real world, if we had this block in our hand, we would want to use a pen or a pencil to mark where the centers of the holes are going to go. And then we're going to put the holes in place. So in order to do that, I need to create a sketch on the top of this block where I'm marking the centers of my holes. So again, we hit this button right here to get the sketch. I'm going to sketch on the very top, so just click there on the top. And there we go. And again, I'm going to view it from the top because I think it looks better. Right here, about 3 rows down and 4 over, you can see it says point. And I'm just going to put in 4 points. They're all not lined up. It's cool because we're going to fix it. So I have my 4 points all lined up. The first thing I'm going to do is create a geometric constraint to put all of these 4 points on the same line. So I'm going to hit my select tool here, and I can select the centers this way. I got to turn my point off. There we go. Select my centers. I wonder if I can select them all. Sweet. I can select all of them at the same time. Then when I hit the drawing button, I can go down near the bottom right hand side. It says horizontal. If I click on that, it's going to make all the yellow selected things. It should make all the yellow selected things horizontal on the same horizontal plane. So now they are all lined up and they're going to stay lined up. The next thing I need to do is put in some dimensions. So I'm going to go back to where I saw dimension before. And I want to dimension first of it. I want it to be 1 inch from the front. So if I click the front and then I click one of my circles, I get a dimension. I don't want 1.08. I want just 1. So I'm going to change it right there. And when you have this, you should be able to click and drag it, move it out of the way. Just use your finger. Then I'm going to put the dimensions across. So from the left to the first hole, I can see on my drawing is 0.75 inches. And there. Change that to 0.75. And then from this hole to this hole, I have 1. That guy to that guy. That's not right. It's 1.25. And then the last two, also 1.25. And now all my drawings have gone from, you can see they were blue before and now they've turned black. That means they're all fully constrained and they're good to go. So we're going to click the check mark again. Don't click the X, otherwise you got to start over. Click the check mark and then our sketch is done. So just like Inventor, we want to put in some holes. Those are a 3D feature. So we're going to click on the beach ball. And you can see in the 3rd row, second over, I've got button right there marked hole. So I can select on it. The first thing, if I'm reading it, it says no hole point selected. So I need to select a center. I'm going to work from left to right. So I'm going to click on that right there. So I've got one clicked. It's going to turn yellow and tell me that it's been clicked. The hole, I don't want a simple hole on this one. If you look at your drawing, the activity actually tells you from the symbol, I can tell it's a counter bore hole. So instead of a simple, I'm going to click on that. I'm going to change it to counter bore. If we look at our symbol again, we can see it's not a through hole. It doesn't say through. So if it's not a through hole, it's got to be a blind hole. So we click that and we're going to say blind. Now the diameters, we're going to pick this. So the diameter first is the hole diameter, so the smaller diameter. My drawing, I've got 0.5. My counterbore diameter is going to be the bigger one. So I have 0.75. The depth of my counterbore, I can see that the symbol next to the larger diameter on my drawing is 0.5. And the depth of the whole hole, I can see, was 2 inches. Now, if I went too fast, feel free to watch this more than once, because I know what I'm doing. I might go a little bit faster. or you might have missed something, or you looking at two different things. That's fine. Rewind it. Watch this again. And I'm going to click the check mark because I'm finished with that. Now, just like Inventor, the rest of my points are gone. But don't fear, we can use those again. So what we're going to do here is you see Sketch 2 in my browser window on the left-hand side of my screen. I can see there's Sketch 2, and it's got an eye with a line through it. That means I can't see it. It's invisible. So to turn it back on, I'm just going to click the eye. And now I can see my points again, and I can put the rest of these holes in. So we're going to repeat this again. I'm going to go down to hole. The whole point, I want to do the second one, so click on it. The style for this one, I can see that there's a V shape. That means it's a cone shape. So I'm going to say this is a countersink. This one is a through hole, so I'm going to leave that. The diameter of my hole, I can read as 0.5 inches. The diameter of my countersink is the larger one. It's going to be 1. And then the taper of my countersink angle is not 90 degrees. I actually have 82 degrees. And then we're going to click the check mark that one is good to go. So we only have 2 more holes left. The next hole that we have is actually a clearance hole. It's a plain hole. So we can go ahead and put that one in, click hole. Again, we're going to click on the one we want, so the third one. This is a simple hole. It's not a counterbore or a countersink. It's just a simple hole. It goes all the way through. And the diameter that I have for this hole is actually 1/2 inch, 0.5. So he's good. And you can see that faint line at the bottom. The faint line on the bottom is actually the outline of my top plane. It doesn't really exist. It's just there. So you can tell where the top plane is. It's not actually part of my sketch. And the last hole we're going to put in. Hole. We want the last one right there. This is also not a simple hole. You can see this is also a counterbore hole. And it's not a through hole either. It's a blind hole. So we're going to change simple to counterbore. We're going to change through to blind. The diameter of the hole, the smaller diameter, is 0.25, so I can just leave that. Good. My counterbore, remember, is the larger one. So it's 0.375. Click OK. The depth of my counterbore is also 0.25, so I can leave that one. And the depth is 1. And this right here where it says start from the sketch plane, it's going to start from where those dots are and go down from there. I can signify it to go from the other side if I really wanted to. I don't want to. I'm going to make this easy. Then I click OK. Now if you use 2 fingers, you can move this up and down and zoom in and out. If you use 1 finger, it rolls around and rotates. So you can look at it from all the different sides. That is how we're going to create our drill block.